Right. Well, it is that noon time, about scheduled time for the start of our workshop. Thanks for joining us today. We're welcome to our workshop on starting your own business. Thanks. We are Score Main. My name is Jasper. I'm our office administrator and client intake coordinator, and we're joined by Pete Nikitas, one of our mentors, who is an expert on the topic of starting your own business, as well as a great salesperson and presenter. If you didn't already know, we here at SCORE are a resource partner of the Small Business Administration, the SBA, and we help clients at any stage
Bueno,
of the business
gracias.
cycle, from start to exit, beginning to close. And we want to thank our sponsor today, and that is the TD Charitable Foundation, a great partner. We love working with them. And we look forward to responding to your questions as they arise. Feel free to either queue them up in the chat or utilize the raise hand function in the React window. Pete, why don't you take it away?
All right, Jasper, how is our audio? Is that working for you?
Yeah, you sound good to me. I don't know about the rest of our attendants here, but to me, you sound good.
All right, that's wonderful. So thanks for having me today, and thanks to all of you for sitting in for our what we call SYOB, Starting Your Own Business Workshop. Starting your own business is almost a rite of passage in the United States. If you think about small businesses contribute to 47% of our country's GDP, 50% of the workforce are employed by small businesses, and 90%, more than 90% of small businesses actually make up all companies in the ecosystem. So it can be the most exciting, most exhilarating, most anxiety-provoking adventure you've ever had in your life. And we're delighted that you're with us today to sort of work through the process of doing this. And I like to think this workshop is divided into maybe three areas. So the first, we'll get into sort of the warm and fuzzy stuff. Then there'll be some talk about some of the mechanical and technical things that are really required, not just to survive, but to thrive. And then the most important part of the workshop comes at the end, where we save time for Q&A. And we can do a little bit of that here. And you're certainly encouraged to reach out to your mentor if you have one. And if you don't, at the end, we'll show you how to get one. And you can say, I always liken this thing to reading the Wall Street Journal. You scan down the left side of the paper. You read a few of the little snippets that are snippets of the day. And when you find a couple that are of interest, then you can take it deep by going into the paper. And that's what I'd suggest you do here. Don't try to absorb. There's an awful lot of stuff in this workshop. I wouldn't be focused on trying to absorb all of it today. I'd sort of be dialing into, what is it that you took you by surprise? What is it that you think you need to learn more about? Make some notes and then get with your mentor and take it deep there. So let's jump in. We're not going to go too deep into the details. The goal is, as I said, make you aware of the broader topics, show you where you can go for more information. And for those of you who don't have a mentor, you're more than welcome to reach out and establish a relationship with one. So this Simon Sinek's golden circle is a great way to think about this. And most folks, when we first hear from them or speak with them, start with the what. Well, I'm going to go out and do this because I want to make $500,000 a year. And that's probably the reverse of how you should be thinking about your business. I think you should take your idea, and Sinek says the same thing. Take the idea and start with the why. Get focused on why it is that you're doing this. And folks who have this thing in their soul, in their heart, they believe in the mission, the value, those businesses tend to thrive because that why is something that drives you every day when you put your feet on the floor in the morning, and you spread that to your associates and across your entire organization, and you lead with the why. Then you start to think about, how is it that I'm going to do this? How am I going to deliver my fresh cup of coffee? Or how am I going to deliver these flowers? And you decide what your process is there. The what is simple. This is what I do. I sell fresh coffee in a town where there are no other coffee shops. But I'd encourage everybody to take a little bit of time and do some soul searching and understand what is the why. And it can't be just that you want to make money, because everyone's out there doing that. The people who really fly are the folks who understand their why, if you see what I did there. So a business has a lot of moving parts. some kind of concoction of all of this. You've got a product, it begins with your product or service. You should have capital. You'll have to build this system where you've got processes that involve employees and vendors and equipment and software and so on and so forth. All of this goes into the stew in terms of setting up your business. As a business owner, and you are the shepherd, the world is full of sheep, but when you're a business owner, you're the shepherd. This is your job description. You need to develop the plan. You need to raise the funds. Most importantly, you need to sell your product or service. If we were to look at all of the applications that come across Jasper's desk as the intake coordinator, it's almost to the last one. People say, I've got it squared away. I know what my product is. Where are my customers? I don't know how to sell this stuff. So you have to get focused on how you're going to sell. You'll build a team. You'll, over time, an iterative process, you'll develop your processes. And though it's not really a lot of fun for a lot of us, you'll need to build and monitor your financial statements. Oftentimes, when people come across, they're actually beginning a business that's an extension of their own personal experience, private experience. You have to think about your risk tolerance. There's an awful lot of risk in being an entrepreneur, which is underestimated by a lot of folks. Consider talents, God-given talents, talents that you've developed over time. Passion. I have said for 1,000 years that I would absolutely take somebody who has a C+ idea, but unbridled passion, over someone that has an A+ idea with no passion, no energy. When you become a solopreneur, which is how most of these things begin, you have to have support. Family support, spouse, partner, your tight ecosystem. It's going to consume you. It's a lot of time. It's time spent in your business when folks expect you to be at a birthday party or a 4th of July celebration, and a supportive family or supportive ecosystem is critical. And you will learn whether you want to or not. Hopefully you've got the desire and the willingness to learn, because there's an awful lot of skinning of the knees and so on and so forth. So when we get running on something like this, money, 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 right? We have to have capital. I can't think of anything that you could get off the ground without any capital. You don't want to be undercapitalized, which is a huge rookie mistake. It takes all of your time, not a lot of it. It takes all of your time. It takes your energy. You have to take care of yourself. This is a lot of stress involved here, to make sure that your health is good. And then you're going to marshal your skills, the skills that you've developed during your career or your life, and you'll develop new ones. That's sort of the beauty of this thing. We're sort of stretching ourselves in ways that we've never had to do before. And that's part of the exciting, exhilarating part of starting your own business. There are a bunch of reasons that certain enterprises fail. And number one is they underfunded from the beginning or ran out of cash. And if you underfunded, you will run out of cash. And I can assure you that if you didn't raise the appropriate amount of cash before your capital before you started, and you run out and then try to recapitalize, your investors will understand that, and it'll be very, very, very difficult for them to hit you with a second round if you've run out of capital, as opposed to if you've run out of capital, but and you're growing and you've got proof of concept and everything is great. Raising money there is not the kind of problem it is if you sort of misread everything from the beginning. And this one really continues to surprise me. No market need. I continue to be surprised by the number of folks that come up with an idea and they have passion for it and energy for the project. But they're either trying to solve a problem that they have, not a problem that the market actually has, or they've come up with an idea where there's absolutely no demand, and they get halfway into this thing and find out that they're good people, they're smart people, it's an interesting idea, but the reality is the market just has no use for it, and it just never gets off the ground. So you try to do your market research up front. ICP, ideal client profile. How are we going to identify your likely customers? And there are a lot of different things that you can take into consideration there. Is this an age range or a gender thing? If you're in financial services, maybe you're looking for a certain income range. Does your product apply to certain geographies? Are we after people at a certain stage of life? You can stratify by occupation, interests, hobbies, political causes, goals. You have to sort all of that out, and you have to develop an ideal client profile that you stick with. You put blinders on and you get dumb about it. And that's the only part of the market that you actually go after, your ideal client profile. Everything else will prove to be a distraction to you. Business is simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And if you listen to the market, it will tell you what you need to do next. And the market is your customer. And you need to go to the market and ask the customer, whether they're your existing customers or somebody else's. You want their perspective around the problem that you're solving. As I said earlier, a lot of times people get really jacked up about something, and it's still astonishing to me that it turns out that the market doesn't have that problem. They have that problem, and that's not a good concept for a business. Why is it a problem? The more they describe this to you, the better you are at crafting a solution. And what is it about your product that solves that problem? And the entire world appears to be very, very highly commoditized. So the question that you want to be able to answer for yourself right up front is, why me versus the fella or the woman across the street? How are you going to differentiate yourself? Is it a legitimate differentiation? And it's really, really neat if your differentiator is very difficult for somebody else to replicate. Value proposition, we hear it all the time. I continue to be surprised by folks that haven't developed one. I think they sometimes have it upstairs, but it needs to be written down. It is something that evolves over time as you kind of make it through the cycle and repeat. But the truth of the matter is, you absolutely have to have it in writing, on paper. You want to be able to identify your core value proposition, and that value prop is something that everybody in your organization has to buy into. And so that when you're in the marketplace, whether your clients are talking to you or any of your associates, they're feeling the same story coming from all parts of your organization. It's something that you're going to continue to test, because the world is not static. We're in a very, very dynamic environment, constantly asking clients and customers about this. And each time you go through the cycle and you learn a little bit more, you'll be able to go back and continue to refine your value proposition. It says your markets may evolve over time. I'm here to tell you your markets will evolve over time, and your value prop will change along with them. A solopreneur is an interesting cat. We wind up being maybe a jack of all trades, a master of none. There's one shirt to grab, there's one back to slap. There are days when the future seems so bright you need sunglasses. And there are days where you think to yourself, what am I doing here all by myself? And from the beginning, you need to have your team. I call it a personal board of directors. You have to have a business mentor, someone who knows not just the industry, but you personally. You're certainly going to need established relationships with attorneys, bankers, insurance people, accountants. The beauty of the Portland market, or the Maine market, is I continue to be astonished by how collegial the environment is here. Portland does not need another microbrewery, but they seem to open up all the time. And I'm astonished by how readily your competitors will come to you and collaborate with you and help you get up your learning curve so quickly. It's astonishing to me. So you certainly want to take care, you certainly want to spend time with your business peers. And not only are you learning from them, by the way, they're learning from you too. And don't discount your trade organizations. These people or these organizations are usually national, and there's nothing they haven't seen, and they exist to help you avoid some pitfalls. And usually you can get a hold of your next new trend or wave or idea by staying very close to your trade organization. This is sort of the dry stuff. This is the stuff that gets done behind the scenes. But you need to be on the right side of your city's requirements. You need to be on the right side of state and federal requirements. Your tax dollars fund all of those offices, and there are people in those offices who exist to explain to you everything that you need to have done, how you do it, and marshal and bring you through that process so that you can have all of those I's dotted and T's crossed. You can see here some of the examples: business licenses, labor laws, immigration laws, sales tax. A lot of times people think they can get away without paying their sales tax. Bad idea. That's something that sneaks up on you after the fact, and it's not a happy day. So if you can, and by the way, If this is the stuff that's very dry for you, subcontract the work out. Somebody has to do this in your organization. Very few of us are really, really good at all of these things that we're talking about today. And it's very, very helpful to be able to complement you with someone who may be better at the back office stuff than the front of the house stuff. Little tidbit for you. You have to have a business structure. I meet people every day that say, hey, I just formed an LLC. I must be in business for myself. A lot of times you don't really need to be in an LLC. And I don't know that I would want to make that decision in a vacuum. Maybe a sole proprietor is a better structure for you, but certainly your attorney and your accountant and you will sit down and beat this up, and they will come up. Collectively, you will come up with the right structure, the right way to hold yourself out to. It's not the marketplace, but the IRS and things like that. Partnerships. Wow. You need to be very, very open with yourself about whether to have a partner, who your partner should be, and the ways that you can go about informing yourself there are to talk to friends who are in partnerships and have them describe how that worked. Talk to friends that you or people that you may know or not know and say, gosh, I noticed that you don't have any partners here. How did you get to that point? You'll spend more time during a day with your business partner than you will with your spouse or other partner. And they can be extraordinarily dynamic relationships. You don't want to rush headlong into it. You absolutely have to have an operating agreement. You should write down what's important to you. Your partner should write what they think would be important to them. Then you kind of get together and work out maybe some type of single document. Bring in your corporate counsel, and then individually, you each should have an attorney review this. A properly structured operating agreement will save your company. It will allow you not to survive, but to thrive. There are always changes of heart or disagreements. It doesn't mean that we're in a bad partnership. It doesn't mean that we're in a failed partnership. It means that people are evolving. And you have to have some document that can keep you sort of focused on what your original agreements were. And, perhaps you've had a change of heart and your partner has to say, I know, but 4 years ago, this is what we decided. And that will bring you back to center so that you can stay focused on the business. Absolutely critical to have an operating agreement. More of what Pete Nikitas would call sort of the dry details, right? You have to have a company name, which you check against in Maine. You check against the registry to make sure that there isn't another one out there. You have to actually establish the company. You do that at the state level. You have to get your numbers. You need a federal EIN. You need a state sales tax certificate. There's some new legislation that's coming and going, if you will, around LLC reporting. You'll need some sort of a business checking account. You have to make sure you get the right vehicle there. And then whether it's at the local level or the state level, maybe federal level, there may be licenses that are associated with the type of business that you're operating. And you want to make sure that you have all of that stuff. Even if you make a mistake and there's an oversight, it doesn't mean you're going to federal prison. But what it does mean is that in the middle of operating your business joyfully and proudly, something's going to come up and you're going to get a letter that says you failed to do XYZ, and you're not going to square that away with a 5-minute phone call. It's going to be an incredible distraction to you. The best I could offer is get all of this stuff buttoned up front, and it will never come back to haunt. Funding. Huge, as I said earlier. How much do you need? Directionally, you need enough to cover your startup costs and your deficits until you reach break even and then hopefully profitability. That number is always either more than you think, or it's a number that you're sort of uncomfortable asking for, or you're uncomfortable trying to raise or get all into a pile. So you have to be very, very honest with yourself. That's a come to Jesus moment. How much do I really need to make this thing work? And you really need to have a 2 to 3 year cash flow projection. You're not going to make, well, I shouldn't say this. you perhaps won't make money for a while, and that's okay, right? That's just kind of the nature of this thing. But you have to be honest with yourself about at what point in time should this thing become profitable, and then you've got that as a guideline. If you're way ahead of schedule, then you're either, doing a really good job or you were pessimistic. But if you're behind schedule, you'll at least be able to make some adjustments to kind of move you forward a little more quickly. Funding for a startup, personal savings, bootstrapping friends and family, that's the way it goes. If you've not yet started your business and you're amassing the capital, it's going to be a little bit of personal savings. Everybody bootstraps, which we'll go into a little detail in a moment, and friends and family. After your proof of concept is out there and after you've gone through a few cycles and you understand you've worked out the bugs and this thing is growing to the point where the only challenge is that you're capital constrained, then you can start talking about crowdfunding, bank loans, venture capital. I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of energy on that today, but really you have to make sure that that pile of dough that you've got on the kitchen table to make this thing work from personal savings, bootstrapping, and friends and family is where you need to start. So another sort of point or point of failure or weakness is a lot of times, people say, well, I get it on the back of a cocktail napkin. You should live and die by the mantra, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. And when it comes to your cash, money coming into your organization, money going out of your organization, whether you use QuickBooks or Intuit or you hire a bookkeeper, there's a fairly standard way of measuring and controlling and reporting where the money that's comes into the place is coming from, how you're allocating it inside your business, and then where it's going on the way out. And we want to get to the point where on the bottom, that number is black, not red. You need to manage that thing, measure it on a monthly basis so that you can manage it and make the right decisions for the next month, the next quarter, the next half year, and the next year. Your business plan is a living document. As I said earlier, we're in a dynamic world. It's not static. It will outline your visions and your goals. We've all seen businesses that do not have one, bad. There are businesses out there that have business plans that are 30 pages long. Not sure that's the way to be. We should all be able to, and if you had a 30-page business plan, I challenge you to, over time, get that down to something that's on the front and back of a piece of paper. It's much easier for you to understand your business and how you're doing. It's much, much easier for your associates, for your marketplace, for your funding sources to understand this. The confused mind says no. People's attention spans seem to get shorter and shorter every day. There are companies out there that will do a 2-page business plan on a $500 million acquisition. That's something that everybody can look at, understand, make a decision on right away. The other 28 pages, you leave that to people who are going to operate the thing, but you should be able to get that business plan down to something very, very manageable and something that's very, very easy for folks to understand. We'll move on. So how do you put all of this together? It begins with the problem, which you've identified. There's a problem in the marketplace, and I want to have a solution to this. You go out and you identify who has this problem. You articulate, you build your solution, articulate your solution, and then your business plan and value prop are kind of working together, right? You've got them interwoven. Once you're comfortable with that, which again is a process, then you begin to test it. You're out in the market testing this thing. Does it work? You're making some adjustments. You make a few measurements. You make a few tweaks. And then the cycle begins. And you just keep repeating the cycle, getting better all the time, hopefully bigger all the time, hopefully more profitable all the time. I hate to oversimplify it, but that's really the way these things work. So what are our conclusions here? It is a lot of work. I think you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, guess what? This may not be for me. When you consider risk tolerance, maybe attention to detail, maybe the energy and the time that you'd have to put at it, right? You have to be very honest with yourself there. You have to be very, very willing to understand your customers. You have to know who they really are as opposed to who you may think they are. Um, I'm huge into knowing your competition. It's almost impossible for you to offer the right product to your customers if you do not understand exactly what your competition is doing out in the marketplace. That's where you're able to make your adjustments. A lot of folks are wise enough to actually start this thing small, little bootstrapping. Maybe it's a side hustle, couple nights, maybe a weekend, so that you can test, you learn about yourself, you learn about your product, maybe some potential points of failure that you hadn't anticipated. You'll learn more about your market. You can make adjustments in a safe environment. And the beauty of doing it in a small, controlled environment is if, in fact, you were to have miscalculated, you haven't sort of broadcast to this huge market that you then have to go out and walk everything back from. You do it in a very controlled, very controlled environment. And of course, your SCORE mentors are here to help. In Southern Maine SCORE chapter, I think we number about 100 mentors. I don't know what the average length of experience is, but it's not just a year or two. And anytime that you're going to start a small business and you can tap into decades of experience across all disciplines and across all industries, sort of at your convenience and no cost, seems to me like it would be making a wise decision. So, free mentoring and workshops. As Jasper may have said up front, we're a nonprofit SBA partner. While we've got 3 offices in the state of Maine, we have 320 offices nationally, and we have the largest volunteer mentoring organization in the country. We stand ready to help all of you on this crazy journey that you're about to embark on. So you can scan here and it will take you into our website where you can request a mentor. You fill out a profile, request a mentor. You've signed up for this program, so you will receive probably in the next day or so, you'll actually receive an evaluation form for this evaluation survey for the workshop. And the only ask that I guess I'd have is it helps us get better at what we do, which is provide these services to you. So if you could take just a few moments to fill up the survey, I would be very grateful. So I'm wrapping up a little bit ahead of schedule. Jasper, you can jump back in and give counsel as to what we do from here.
Yeah, so now's a great time to take any questions we may have. Like I said before, if you guys have any, please feel free to queue them up in the chat or utilize the raise hand function, which you can find in the React window at the bottom of your screen. Starting your own business does always have questions, but again, if nothing's coming to mind right now, what we're here for if they do come up after the fact. So applying for a SCORE mentor is one of the best resources you can have for starting your business. And do want to say thanks, Pete, for putting it on today. First time doing the SYOB, and it's very engaging. I think definitely one of our more more entertaining ones so far.
Delighted to help.
Yeah.
Did we put everyone to sleep?
Can you hear me, guys?
I'm not totally sure. Not hearing from many people. So in that case, if nobody has any questions, I guess it seems like it was a little fast. Caroline's saying. But do you have any questions? Anything specifically coming to mind? Great info, she says. Well, thank you very much. We do have also a great library of workshops as well. When this recording is sent to you, it's hosted on our SCORE Main YouTube channel. There's tons of other recordings that we've got that could be great to have. Jake is asking, thank you all for your time. As it pertains to the legal mechanics of entity formation, get your business up and running. Does SCORE offer mentorship on this front? We do. We can't do it for you, but we can help guide you through the process of applying for your LLC, S Corp, or even 501c3s. We do mentor nonprofit organizations as well. So again, that's a great topic for a SCORE mentor to help guide you through. But again, we are a kind of help you DIY rather than doing it for you. Melissa, you got your hand up.
Yes, yesterday I filled out the little form online to sign up for a mentor. Do you know how long that takes before I'll hear from someone?
Let's see. Usually, if you put in a mentor request, I believe it looks like I paired you with one already.
Oh,
So she should be reaching out to you soon. I try to have people paired within a business day or two of receiving the mentor request. But once it is out of my hands, I don't tend to check in with the mentors, but hopefully they should respond to you within a business day as well.
Okay, and that would be either phone call or email?
Yes, it should usually, I believe we tend to start with a email, but they may be reaching out to you via phone as well,
All
either
right,
a
no
call or a
worries.
text.
Okay, thank you.
Of course, yeah, and that goes for most, if not all of our mentor requests. Um, Caroline has an inn evolving to a retreat center. Pete, do you think that Caroline should stay with the original LLC or possibly make two to separate the kind of businesses there?
Again, as you said, we're not in the business of giving that kind of advice. We could do one of two things. We could certainly connect you with a mentor who may be a little bit closer to that sort of guidance, but it would be guidance, and you probably want to talk to one of your professionals about that.
Yeah, I mean, off the cusp, if you think like uh, should a doesn't necessarily need to be the end all be all authority on it, but for a similar kind of two businesses that are fairly similar, should they be separated? What do you think?
I mean, I'll take a stab at it. I don't know your
Hmm.
businesses, Caroline. If they're very, very similar and they have a similar risk profile, meaning the chances of you saying something or providing something that could get you into trouble, if there's very, very low risk there, people get very excited about filing an LLC, and I'm not sure why.
Hmm.
I think they underestimate. They think that you just fill out a form and you're done, but there are annual recording requirements, so you'll double those. And if you do them yourself, that's fine. But if you're paying somebody to file them for you, now you've doubled your costs there. And if you're not achieving another layer of protection, then I don't know why you would put yourself through it. But again, I think you need to challenge my observation with at least a tax professional, if not your legal people.
Hmm. Yeah, taxes are a field that we are, unfortunately lacking a little bit in our mentorship committee in Maine or a mentorship, roster in Maine. But we do have lots of, accountants and stuff that we what's the word, refer out to and recommend. So especially as tax season comes up, our few mentors that do take on tax related questions are gearing up to for their actual jobs. So that is one of the things about SCORE mentorship is that all of our mentors are volunteers, and we are a nationwide organization though. So if there is a question that you can't necessarily have answered in Maine, we can send it out to one of our hundreds of chapters across the entire country. For instance, we see a lot of questions come up about e-commerce and selling your products online. Is another one that is unfortunately a little low, but we have some great mentors that I've kind of started sending them to. One who's based out of Miami, who's an absolute expert on the subject. So again, we are a nationwide organization of volunteers that are here for any part of the life of your business, and yeah. Well, anyone else with any questions while we got you here? Uh, just wanted to reiterate that we were recording today, and hopefully we'll have that sent out within a business day or two. And in that case, if no one else has any other questions, again, want to thank Pete for putting on an entertaining and great presentation on starting your own business. I
Good
want to
luck
thank everyone for
Good
yeah,
luck and best wishes to each and every one of you. This is a wild ride, and I hope every one of you enjoy it.
absolutely. And I want to thank everyone for attending today as well. Um, yeah, we've got a volunteer from MCE thanking us as well for putting this on. Um, and we will send the slides and recording, like I said, out. One more time, we've got the survey that we would greatly appreciate you filling out. And want to thank again our sponsor today, the TD Charitable Foundation. And last but not least, one final plug. If you don't already have a mentor, but you are on this workshop, you can apply for one for completely free. It's confidential at score.org. You just fill in your zip code and a little bit of information about your business, and we'll have you paired with one of our business mentors within a business day or two. And we hope to see you again at one of our future workshops. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jasper. Great job. Thank you all.
Great job to you. Thanks.